everybody. Welcome back to the Bitcoin and altcoin trading talk. Let me get myself on video here. I'm still trying to work this Hangout stuff. I didn't think it was going to be that smooth of a transition, guys.
Man, that was slick, though. We're making progress here. Looks good.
There we go. All right. So welcome back once again. My name is William Kale, co-founder of Coinigy.com. We're doing this bi-monthly podcast here to kind of showcase Coinigy, do some altcoin talk, some general Bitcoin talk, just kind of shooting the bull about crypto. And tonight we have a couple special guests. As usual, we have Brian Beamish of TheRationalInvestor. How you doing, Brian?
Fantastic, sir. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man.
Cool. I'm totally stoked, I tell you. I've been looking forward to tonight for a few days now. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, we really hyped this one up. So, and we also have Julian from The Rational Investor as well. How you doing?
Hello, Will. I am also fantastic. Perhaps not as fantastic as Brian, but fantastic still. Glad to be here.
Well, Brian's always very enthusiastic. So.
Hey, PMA for the win, baby. PMA for the win.
And then we have JC from Crypto Elite. How are you doing, JC?
Hey guys, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me back on.
Our pleasure, man. You did a great job last time. And then, last but not least, we have Michaela, aka the Bitcoin Babe, joining us tonight. How are you doing today, or tonight, or today? You're in Australia, so I guess it's today.
Yeah, well, it's lunchtime here at the moment, so you're cutting into my sandwich time, Will. What are you doing?
I don't know what to tell you on that one, to be honest with you. So.
It's all right.
So yeah, so I guess we're gonna just kind of jump into the news here. JC's got some articles lined up. I guess if you want to share your screen, JC, we can get moving. Oh, once again, I just wanted to mention too, you know, if you guys have any questions you'd like to, you know, shoot us a message. We have the YouTube link, which we did post on our Twitter, and we can also, you know, if you tweet #altcoin5 as well, I'm at least going to be monitoring that. I don't know if Julian knew about that one or not, but so yeah.
Also, I just want to jump on this. This is Julian again. Will said bi-monthly. It's actually bi-weekly we do these. So
see, this is a point of contention, Julian, because I said bi-weekly on one of the other ones, and I got sternly corrected and that it was bi-monthly. So I don't know.
Well, technically, isn't there like 4 weeks in a month anyway? So it doesn't really matter if it's by.
Yeah, somebody said bi-weekly means you're doing 2 a week, and I don't know. So I'm all confused about it. I'll say bi-weekly going forward, though.
All right, let's. Brian, what do you think? Let's get Brian. What do they say?
These are the hot topics of our day.
I'm totally. I mean, we got so much stuff on the go tonight. I'm so excited. I mean, we got JC in the news. We got a couple really cool things going on there. And I tell you what, gang, before I get going on the Altcoin 5, I got to tell you a trade JC did this week that made me look silly. So it's Bitcoin. Big shout outs for JC and his trading. I'm totally looking forward to this interview with Michaela. I really want to get to know her and some of the really fun and exciting sort of perspectives that she has on the market. We got these 5 altcoins coming up here. We've got great feedback from the Twitter audience. I mean, I tell you guys, we had, in fact, Michaela, do you remember you said at one point we should probably just put all the coins into a fishbowl or something and just draw them out because we got such a great response from you guys. So this is awesome. I'm just totally stoked. You know, really, you could call it bi-monthly, you could call it bi-weekly. I don't really care. I'm just here and I'm like totally stoked.
See, now that's the intro that we need. Brian, you're just a natural.
It's all
I'm
good,
just a
baby.
lowly
It's all
programmer.
good.
What can I say? I'm not cut out for this stuff. So.
But you're a damn handsome guy, though, honestly.
Oh well, thank you. I got all gussied up.
All right, so why don't we pop on over to the news desk, JC? What do you got for us to think about here tonight?
Cool. Hey guys. So hopefully you can see my screen at the moment. So yeah, my name's JC James, otherwise known. Some of you know me as Crypto Elite. I'm a previous or current student of the Rational Investor. So Brian, you can take credit also for the trade this week.
Man,
Showing me.
I don't mean to cut you off, sir, but I'll tell the whole audience. One of the most beautiful things in this world to experience is trying to convey an idea to somebody, seeing that they get the idea and seeing them properly execute it and make money from that idea. I tell you, I mean, I know it sounds kind of weird, but I'm ready to go. I did my job on planet
Yeah.
Earth, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful to watch. Oh,
Sounds like
it's a
the
gift.
perfect
It's
job.
an absolute gift. Go ahead, JC.
Yeah, great. So some people follow me on here for just following my trades. I'm fairly active in the altcoin space, and other people follow me just for the news. My news site you can get to by just clicking here. So yeah, as I was saying, avid user of Coinigy, and a previous student of the Rational Investor. So really an amateur anchorman here for you guys on Coinigy Wednesday webinars, but I'll try my best. This week we've got some good news and some bad news. It's never all good in this space. As I said last time I came on, I'm not going to be talking about sort of Reddit posts, things, pump and dump stories, about the new sort of master node that's out, or about a developer who's just quit. I'll be coming up with some news which you see in the mainstream news. And what caught my attention last time we were on was the news about Ripple raising $28 million, and how that's really setting the standard really for where the blockchain and where cryptocurrencies are going. And following on from Ripple's raising, I noticed that the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, which by the way is the 10th largest bank in the world by market cap, is now experimenting with Ripple. At the moment, they're experimenting through transactions made between subsidiaries. But from what I've been reading and hearing about here in Australia, which by the way, Australians and the Australian banks are actually quite technology savvy. I don't know if it's the same around the rest of the world, but here in Australia with CommBank particularly, you can actually send an SMS to somebody in a different state. They can walk up to the bank, an ATM, type in the code that's sent through the SMS, and actually withdraw cash that you've sent to somebody down in another state or city. So to me, that's it's pretty cutting edge technology which they're playing with, and the fact that they're dabbling with Ripple really sort of sets the scene of things to come. And they've also mentioned that their current accounts, so your day-to-day transaction accounts, will soon consist of not only fiat currencies, but also rewards points. So when you go, so you won't have to carry around multiple, loyalty cards for shopping or shops. You can actually now just go in with your CommBank app and go up to, say, a shop and just pay with your points. Whether or not you can transfer those points from user to user, I guess, remains to be seen. But this sort of leading technology over here with cryptocurrencies and the banks is something to really look forward to.
That's real. I just want to chime in. That's really interesting that they raised 20 some odd million dollars because not only 2 weeks ago I believe they were fined I think 700,000 by FinCEN. So they had that doom and gloom article followed up by a very happy article. So that's kind of, I wonder how the market has gone up or down based on that as far as XRP.
It's interesting. A couple things that I'd mention here. Number one, if we actually look at the price chart, let's see if we can just throw it on here. That's XRP, right? Not to get off topic, I'll just try and make this quick. I think actually what we saw was a bit of a buy on the rumor, and it was interesting the day, and I remember when that Australian banking official made that announcement, that was actually up here, and I think we got a bit of a sell on the news. So that's sort of my comment there. One other thing that really jumped out at me this past week, of course, in our current session in school, we're on the technical analysis portion, and we were talking about intermarket relationships. And what I found really interesting, the feedback that I got from the gang was, in cryptocurrency, we always want to ask, do we have some sort of proxy of like a junior market versus a senior market. And for the past, as long as I've been playing around in crypto, for the past couple of years anyway, the general proxy has been Litecoin, Bitcoin. And somebody actually mentioned to me just this past week that Ripple has now surpassed Litecoin in market cap.
Yeah, I can
And
see that, definitely.
yeah, and
Especially
so
if you check CoinMarketCap, Ripple's been, top 3, top 5 for quite a
yeah,
while now.
so I find this really interesting. I think your mention of this news makes a lot of sense, JC. And I'll call you Mav too, if you don't mind. And I think that it might actually be a harbinger of sort of that second place coin. Litecoin may be fading into the distance, and we may now have a new sort of second tier proxy. So that's what I was going to mention with regard to that.
So, Brian, do you think that tells you that XRP is going to start mirroring Bitcoin, so to speak, like LTC used to?
Well, what we noticed was, do you remember, of course, during the winter of 2013, 2014, when the market was going parabolic, Litecoin was actually dramatically outperforming Bitcoin. And then when the market topped out, Litecoin reversed and started to dramatically underperform Bitcoin. So in our module on Introduction to Technical Analysis, and then applying the principles of intermarket relationships, we took a real good look at what is a good proxy for a speculative phase in cryptocurrency, i.e. Litecoin outperforming Bitcoin, or a contractionary phase in crypto, i.e. Litecoin underperforming. I just find it really interesting that for the longest time, we've always just assumed that Litecoin was number 2. In this case, we may actually be seeing a seismic shift in that number 2, and Litecoin better be careful. They might just get run over here. So, and it's interesting that JC mentions this news, and I think that there are some sort of rumblings. If anything, the Litecoin community, I get the impression people are getting a little impatient. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but we need to continue with the news. So, JC, what's up?
Well, nicely segued. Nicely segued.
I tried to be as polite as possible about that.
Go ahead, JC.
I think you should also, if people are interested in Ripple, I think it's worth doing some research on them as well. They're not a true decentralized cryptocurrency, and the fact that they are working with the banks isn't necessarily that pleasing to a lot of altcoin enthusiasts. So just
Right.
beware there and do your research there.
I've definitely heard that. Yep. Yep.
Moving on to more depressing stories. I couldn't look past this today. The Silk Road incident.
JC, I think you need to share your screen one more time. It's not populated for me.
Thanks, Will. Let me try.
No problem.
Now.
I'm just trying to be the ringmaster here.
You're doing a fine job, sir. Fine job.
Okay. Yes, as I was saying, I couldn't go past this news today without talking about Silk Road. Real bad story here. This guy, 31-year-old, has just been put away for life without parole. Some may say that drug dealers and people involved in illegal goods, should be put away. But for me, buying and selling illegal goods via the darknet, this is not a new thing. Silk Road wasn't the first business or the first way in which you could transact illegal goods on the darknet. They weren't the first, and they won't be the last. Some will even argue that the Silk Road platform actually enforced some form of ethical code around the darknet, because products and services that were provided could be reviewed and therefore would prevent scams and things like that from occurring. So look, from a moral standpoint, I believe if you break the law, and you should be prepared to do the time, as they say, if you're caught. But life without parole for a 31-year-old who may never have actually sold a bag of weed himself seems to me, kind of out of touch and rather draconian. So I had to sort of voice my opinion there, and I'll throw it open to you guys as to what you guys think as well.
Yeah, I mean,
you
I've been
think
loose. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
we were all getting ready to say something there, eh? I was just gonna say, and this is a cheeky comment. You think that the FIFA corrupt officials are going to get life in prison for their crimes? I mean, what's sad is that the system, he's basically, in my opinion, a scapegoat. And they're trying to send a message, right? That, hey, kids, don't go down this road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm a straight guy, but now I can even understand why Michaela was kind of sad that he's going to be locked away, because he's a pretty good-looking guy.
He's adorable, isn't he? I'd chain him up in my bedroom.
Oh boy, I told you, viewers, this is going to be one hell of a show.
No, what I find interesting about this story as well is that the FBI are actually trying to pin, I think it was 3 deaths on Ross, which was actually a result of drugs being dealt through the site. Now, what Ross's mother actually brought to attention was, during that time that these people died of their drug overdoses, the FBI was actually in control of the site. So to actually pin the deaths on Ross is actually quite barbaric, I find.
Wow, and yeah, you could even say that didn't the FBI have a fiduciary responsibility to prevent those deaths if they could have?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and the FBI went through this whole series of cases where they were literally honeypotting visitors and customers, where they were using, I guess, vendors through the site, and saying, pretty much whoever you send out to, we want their addresses, and pretty much the packages would go from point A to point B, and the feds would be meeting the package at point B, waiting for the people to come out and pick up the package. So
yeah, I guess there was actually, I mean, some of the agents involved now have gotten in serious trouble for that. And another thing to add too, I mean, I've been following it loosely, so I don't know all the details, but I know there was the whole murder for hire thing that came out. Someone on Reddit was speculating, that was almost a false flag just to set the community sentiment against him, I guess. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I assume there was some evidence present for that.
I guess because I'm an old man and I've been around here so long, but can you guys envision that maybe 5 years from now, on some sort of appeal, this verdict might be, maybe not overturned, but, maybe his sentence is reduced or something? I could see something like that happen.
Probably following a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And masses, and then everyone jumps on the
Wolf of.
Yeah, I mean. And I've seen this before, like on the day of the conviction, the headline is front page, and it's, we're throwing the book at him and you're never going to see him again, right? But then 5-10 years later, you find out on page 20 in the back page that somehow his sentence has been commuted or something. I mean, I hope for his sake that he gets a second chance some point down the road. But yeah, if anything, in my opinion, I think the system, like, can you imagine if you're like some city council or something, you're a whole bunch of blue hair or gray hairs, right? And you're looking at, can you imagine if this happened? What city did this go down in? I can't even remember. Does anybody know?
I'm not sure.
I think the case was being heard in New York. I'm not sure about where he's from, though.
Anyway, I mean, can you imagine, even the baby boomers, they're getting up there in their 60s, 70s, and they hear about these kids that are swapping AK-47s, and of course about America's temperament towards terrorism now. I mean, if anything, it just seems to me the system was like, wow, we got to send a clear message, kids, you got to stop doing this. Does that sound about right? What do you think, guys?
Yeah, but it's ridiculous that this guy makes the front page, but then the second page, or no, probably not even the second page, like Will said, the 20th page, there won't be a report until the 20th page about the government officials that actually stole the Bitcoin from Silk Road and have now just disappeared, apparently.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Will was right. I've also heard that, unfortunately, law enforcement nowadays is given an incredibly sort of loose set of rules to work under, and so you wonder how much was these FBI agents actually involved in this stuff, to get these people to do this, So anyway, yeah, it's a total pickle, no doubt about it.
By
All
pressing
right,
on,
I suppose, do you have anything else for us, JC?
yeah, just pressing on beyond the moral and ethical, topics that we've just mentioned. I just thought that I'll mention that this news came out, I think, on Sunday, US, Monday in Asia, and he's also got a $183 million fine to pay. Now, there's talk about how that number was derived from the amount of sales that went through the platform itself. But what I found interesting was, we've seen the price of Bitcoin be very heavy over the course of the last 48 hours. And I started thinking, well, where's this $183 million going to come from? So I started searching around, and it turns out that in this article here, and I know, we can't read everything that we read in the press, but it says here that the government noted that the pending civil forfeiture against Uberik, which includes the Bitcoins found on his laptop at the time of his arrest, can be credited to the judgment. That includes 700,000 Bitcoins, which were worth $13 million at the time of transactions, but were worth about $166 million at the time of this article. So you got to think that maybe the public are thinking, well, there's 700,000 Bitcoins that are around there that need to be transacted and paid for, and he needs to pay for this fine.
Yeah, so that's interesting. What a coincidence that, what did you say, a $180 million fine, and it just so happens that the amount of Bitcoins that they have at current market prices comes out to 170 million, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well, I know with the I don't know if it was the original Silk Road bust or not, but they actually auctioned off a lot of those coins, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's almost as if, the U.S. government was getting into the Bitcoin trading game, kind of indirectly.
They are now, aren't they? They certainly are.
Yeah.
And then we have to ask ourselves, I mean, you guys have seen my January barometer chart. Anybody out there watching the show, if you haven't, just check out my Twitter feed. The January barometer kind of suggests that we might be, heading a bit lower in price. And now with this, basic revelation that, there's still a whole bunch of Bitcoins out there that need to be liquidated, I can kind of, start connecting the dots now. All right, so shall we leave it at that for the news today, sirs? Anything else that you want to bring to our attention, or should we get on to our main event?
Main event.
Woo! Whoop, JC's gone. I guess, JC, are you done on the
JC just got
news?
muted, I think.
Oh, somebody muted him. Michaela muted him. Enough of the news. Get on to the main event.
Shut up. Let's talk about me.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so without further ado, we here at The Rational Investor, and really this, I got to give a big shout out to JC. He was the one who brought her on board. He's introduced us to, frankly, I have to admit to our audience, I'm absolutely stunned at this person. Regardless, male, female, this is a person with a head on their shoulders, and I was very impressed with the first conversation that I have heard from her. So without further ado, we have the great privilege of introducing the Bitcoin Babe, as she likes to go, and I think on Twitter it's Bitcoin Babe AU, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Michaela, maybe you could take just a couple minutes and just say hello to our audience. We have probably about 4 or 5 questions that I'd love to ask of you and get your sort of thoughts and feedback about Bitcoin from a woman's perspective. But the stage is yours, madame. You got, good couple minutes here. Tell us about us. Tell us about Michaela and your adventures in Bitcoin. Go.
Yeah, well, hi, my name is Michaela. I am the owner of Bitcoin Babe Australia, here obviously in Australia. I'm a local Bitcoins trader as well as a savvy peer-to-peer Bitcoin lender, which is where I get the majority of my investors from for my business ventures. What can I say? I'm very impressed by your shows. I've been watching them, Brian. I've been learning a lot about the M's and the W's. I'm very impressed.
Cool. Well, and you know the cool. I was even doing the class today. And you know, these are, you know, in North America we call them Dow bottoms and Dow tops, right? So it's not like it's something that I've invented. These go back, you know, a long, long time, and it's my privilege to actually show this information to the world because, you know, it's out there. We might as well take advantage of it. And, you know, just hearing that positive feedback from you, oh, you touch my heart. Thank you, madam. So I guess a few questions that we have for you, right? I mean, me personally, I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee someday and just learn about the peer-to-peer lending business because, I mean, man, that sounds awesome. But maybe you could just tell us, you know, especially in Australia, you know, uh, environment is probably a little different than North America here. Tell us about some of the challenges that you've had in getting a startup going in Bitcoin, and you know, what are some of the sort of kind of troll kind of things that you've had to deal with in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started out, which was back in October of 2014 was when I decided, you know, I'm going to start taking on investors and all that fun stuff. Anyway, so I figured the best way to do that would be through peer-to-peer lending on the website Bit Lending Club. And yeah, one of the first sort of hurdles I had to face was I didn't realize how rare women being in Bitcoin was, and when they were in Bitcoin, it seemed that the majority of them were kind of just being impersonated by men who were looking to scam other users and pretty much going, oh, hey, you know, look at me, you know, I'm this pretty girl and I want to invest in Bitcoin. And then they would be running away with people's Bitcoin. So, of course, when I came into the scene with, of course, as you probably just saw there on Brian's screen, my whole marketing facade of, you know, this whole Bitcoin babe persona, people weren't too fond of that, so I got a pretty harsh lashing about not being a real person. So.
I mean, the interesting thing is, you know, from me on the other side of the world, if I didn't actually have the privilege of meeting you, there's no way I would have believed you were for real.
Right. You know, just to chime in, I mean, when I first heard, oh, you know, JC knows the Bitcoin babe, I kind of went, oh, I don't. But after meeting you, it's a complete 180. You know, I mean, you're very down to earth, well spoken. You understand Bitcoin through and through. So kudos to you.
I know. I have to say, and as I said in the intro, I don't get blown away very often, but you, madame, you blew my socks off. I mean, I was just after our first date, you know, like basically we had a nice little meeting with our group here. We got to meet Michaela, and it's, you know, like, it's one thing to have a pretty face, right? A pretty face is a pretty face, a pretty face. It's almost dangerous when she's got a really big brain behind that pretty face. And folks, you know, we've got a pretty face with a really big brain here. So
that's almost lethal, isn't it?
I know it is, but you don't even realize. Well, and a lot. I promised I wasn't going to go down that road. I'm just going to simply say that. I really like your. It's almost like, to me, my perspective looking at you, it's like life has given you this opportunity, and you said, "There it is. I'm going to go grab it." And that, oh, yeah, way to go.
Especially with my marketing campaign. You know, it was a very I guess bold step to take, from what I've been told anyway. I mean, when I first came into the local Bitcoins market, and for those who don't know what local Bitcoins is pretty much like an eBay of sorts, where people put up their listings to buy and sell their Bitcoin. So of course, when I came into the market, there were already, you know, a fair few traders in there, and so I had to kind of step up and go, well, you know, how am I going to differentiate myself from those other traders? Like, I mean, you've got traders that have been sitting there for years, so, you know, I just figured, well, you know what, you know, they don't have the sex appeal that I have. Like, that's to be blunt about it. So I just said, you know what, I'm just going to put up a whole bunch of old modeling photos onto a Facebook page and market it that way, and yeah, just took off. It was crazy.
But
good thinking. Michaela, just out of
Oh,
curiosity, I mean, what is the Bitcoin adoption like in Australia? I mean, is it catching fire down there? Do you see it accepted at local stores, or is it kind of like it is here in the States, where it's only in the cities mostly? Like I won't find it in rural Ohio necessarily.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, I mean, as James was reporting earlier, like, I mean, we just had one of our biggest banks here, Commonwealth Bank, take on Ripple. But but at the same time, I mean, the banks aren't very accepting of Bitcoin. I mean, I know when I first started out, and obviously one of your main things that you need to accept money is, of course, a bank account. And when you walk into these banks and go, "Hi, I'd like to open a business account," they go, "Yeah, sure. But what's your business?" And you say, "Well, I'm a Bitcoin trader." They'll go, "See you later," and show you the door.
yeah, same in Canada.
It's just
Hmm.
yeah, because they see it as a threat and as competition. So why should they support that? It would be like KFC walking into McDonald's and going, "Hey, sell our stuff." McDonald's will be like, "No, see you later."
Yeah, but it is interesting how Ripple, and we keep coming back to Ripple. Ripple and the banks are kind of in bed with each other, aren't they? So
Yeah, and I mean, and as I think it was James that said before as well. Like, I mean, Ripple isn't decentralized the way Bitcoin is, and I think that's where a lot of the tensions are arising.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I mean, like down here, like, I mean, you can't even buy Ripple coin here anyway. So I'd like to know how Commonwealth Bank are going to really use this technology, because I can tell you now, like, because I'd love to buy some Ripple coin, but unfortunately, it's just very hard to come by.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know a lot of the banks are kind of looking at the technology, but well, at least behind Bitcoin versus I don't know how it is with Ripple, but maybe they're using Ripple kind of as an onboarding to get into the blockchain or to integrate the blockchain into their remittance industry or something like that.
Yeah,
It's pretty
isn't
interesting. I didn't realize you couldn't actually buy Ripple. I didn't realize it was kind of banned in certain countries or you weren't able to purchase it.
Yeah, not so much that it's banned, it's just literally like we just don't have it available. I mean, the
Wow.
only way I think for me to buy Ripple at this point in time would be to send money to an overseas exchange and buy it there, which at that point it kind of dissolves the point of buying Ripple. I mean, because as you said, Ripple's all about international remittance, and I mean, if I'm paying double the fees to just get the Ripple, like, I mean, there's really no point.
so
Excellent.
Michaela, real quick. Do you guys use PayPal in Australia? Because
Yes, we do. PayPal's huge.
I've heard about PayPal adopting the blockchain to use in Bitcoin. Has anyone else heard about PayPal using it as like their backend to save on
I
costs?
haven't
Yeah,
heard about the backend. I heard that they were doing a beta test of at least, accepting wallets or something like that. But
yeah, they were going to start. It wasn't PayPal. I think it was their little subsidiary Braintree. We're going to start adopting Bitcoin,
yeah, you're right. Yep.
but that was going to be in the beta phases. I mean, PayPal and Bitcoin, like, I mean, they're not overly big fans. I mean, I know it stipulates in PayPal's terms and conditions that if you're purchasing Bitcoin via PayPal, it actually like just pretty much declines all of your rights as a seller. So if the person, or sorry, as the buyer, because obviously if you bought something off eBay and it doesn't arrive, well then you've got that protection where they refund you your money. But if you openly say I'm purchasing Bitcoin, then they'll be like, well, you've lost your money. See you later.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's
can
actually
also
a
say
very
too,
very dangerous.
right? And one
That's
of
so cheeky
one of
of them.
PayPal's tenets has always been, oh, the buyers all.
Oh, we lost Will.
Did we lose? We lost Will there?
Right in mid
Yeah, I think we did.
sentence.
Oh man. All right. So that brings me to my question. So Michaela, what have you? So speaking of scams, have you had any experience with, like, as a seller of local bitcoins? What's been your
Yeah.
experience kind of with scams? Have people tried to scam you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we probably see at least 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people try a week.
A week?
Not
Holy
just
cow.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Not just me, but every trader on there. I mean, I think total, and I mean this might be a bit, confronting. I don't know if I should reveal this, but I think in the past year that I've been trading, I've had about $20,000 be tied up in scams. Of people trying to rip me off. I mean, thankfully, I've been pretty savvy about it, and the only money I've actually lost is about $70. So the other sort of amount I've managed to save. But I mean, the major scams we see are through bank transfers. I know here in Australia, people sending money and either hacking the bank accounts and sending the money to people, and then obviously the real owner comes forward and says, I didn't send that money, and it's like, okay, well then you've got to return that money back to the person. You've lost your Bitcoin because obviously you've released it. And then the other one we find very common now is what they call a man-in-the-middle attack, which was, I actually had one a couple of weeks ago where this woman deposited $9,500 into my bank account, expecting to buy a caravan off eBay. Now, she'd never seen this caravan before in her life. She'd just seen photos of it off eBay, and the person she was talking to over eBay had given her my bank account details to deposit the cash into. All the while, this person's also talking to me saying, hi, I'd like to buy $9,500 worth of Bitcoin. So, of course, the transaction's gone down, and it just felt really suspicious to me because there were certain things details that I asked for, and the person I was speaking to wasn't providing them. So the first thing I did obviously was ring up my bank and say, look, this money I think has been deposited in fraudulently. Can you please start an investigation? And they were like, yeah, no worries. So after about a week, it turned out that this woman who had deposited the cash was about to hit retirement, had 2 disabled sons, and she wanted to travel around Australia for retirement with her husband. So it took a redraw on a mortgage to pay for this caravan that she'd never seen before. And I just sat back and I was just like, wow, like, I mean, for starters, you were so lucky I caught that, because, like, I mean, if I hadn't, like, your money would have been gone. Simple as that. And second of all, like, I mean, don't buy things that you haven't seen in person. Like, it's just crazy that someone would go and buy a caravan that they've never, like, something so big as well, that they just haven't seen. So
wow, that's called a man-in-the-middle attack.
Yeah.
All right, I better write that one down.
Yeah, absolutely. So word of advice to the people out there, like, I mean, if you're looking to buy things online, and I mean, they hit through Craigslist, I mean, over there in the US, very common. So yeah, if you're ever going to buy things online, make sure it's from a reputable source, or you've actually seen the item. Because
actually, this brings up a really cool question that I thought of and we had talked about originally, and I'm glad this is a good segue. I'd be curious to know, and any female viewers of tonight's show, I would be curious, and I think this might help you. Do you find, Michaela, that, the internet, being such that it is, that you almost act in a sort of way as like a shield for a lot of women that would like to participate in the internet and participate in the Bitcoin community, and you're almost willing to absorb and provide that sort of safe environment for women. Does that does that resonate with you at all? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, despite obviously, the marketing, which obviously appeals mainly to men and a select few women. Women who purchase Bitcoin, I know in Australia, seem to find solace in dealing with a woman like myself, because they feel that there's that sisterly bond there, and there's that trust that a woman might not necessarily get with a man, because I mean it comes down to, like, the age-old dilemma of car yards. When a woman walks into a car yard and there's that pushy male salesman, like, I mean, they're not going to trust them, and they're not going to form that bond as easily as when it'd be a woman dealing a car to a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got one customer who had to verify her ID with a male trader, and the male trader turned around and made the snide remark of, have you ever looked into doing, GGB, which is a site called Girls Gone Bitcoin on Reddit. And
I gotta
she
check that out one
looked it
day.
up, and of course you want
Come
to,
on.
right? So yeah,
I'm
like
terrible. I'm terrible.
obviously this girl's gone and looked up what GGB is and has seen just pages and pages of amateur
Yeah.
porn pretty much, and this girl was just disgusted, and she was telling me about it, and I was like, well, I would never suggest that. Like, I mean, you
Yeah.
want to buy Bitcoin, I'll sell you Bitcoin. Like, I mean, that's it. Like,
Yeah, and that's kind of exactly what I was alluding to. And here's the bottom line, right? Is the market will speak, and I believe that you can actually appeal to a huge market segment that is simply just being ignored, right? And that's just that's capitalism 101, right? And I commend you for that. And I think that, if you play your cards right, man, I think you've got a world of opportunity there. So way to go. Hats off. I'm so proud of you. So
thank you.
way to go. All right, guys. How'd we do on our questions? Did we hit everything that we wanted to ask Michaela? Was there any other questions? How about out on the YouTube channel, Julian? Have you been keeping track of that? Any questions over there?
No questions yet, Brian. I mean, I'm looking. If anyone has any questions for Michaela, just post them in the YouTube channel, and we could ask her. Get them in while she's here.
How about over on the Twitter channel, Will? Are you following Twitter?
I'm checking on it right now. Nothing to report yet, Brian.
Okay. How about you, JC? You've been awfully quiet through this. Any questions for Michaela?
I'm still pissed off I got muted earlier.
No! Who did that?
Nah. Yeah, okay.
It wasn't me.
Michaela, it strikes me that 99% more of what goes on in the crypto space than your average person on the street, and 99.99% more of this space than all women who are around. So, question for you is, like, have you ever considered doing any consultancy business? And for example, people don't understand how to get hold of Bitcoin, how to set up a wallet, the pros and cons of going to an exchange. Has anybody ever come to you, or have you ever thought of working in that consulting space and helping educate the average public member how to get access to Bitcoin?
No, I've never been approached. It's never really crossed my mind. I mean, people who want to get into Bitcoin, I mean, the first thing they obviously do is they Google it, and then whatever they can't find. I mean, I've got customers that will ask me, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'll just pretty much tell them straight up how it's done, and they're pretty happy with that. But yeah, I wouldn't mind, getting up on a stage and doing talks about Bitcoin. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, I thought I heard you were doing. Oh, I'm sorry, JC. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I was just saying, I think there's huge scope for education, and I think you've got all the attributes to be a fantastic ambassador for this space in Australia and across the world. So
yeah, unfortunately, Bitcoin isn't very big in Australia yet. I don't think, because I know in America you guys have like these massive Bitcoin roadshows and everything, and these Bitcoin conferences. I know the Bitcoin Miami conference was a huge one, but we don't have anything like that in Australia. I mean, it would be nice. I know they were thinking of doing one a couple of years ago now, but it never took off. It never got the funding. We just don't have the I guess the major Bitcoin presence here in Australia, like you guys do overseas, and I think that comes down to just like a combination between the government and the banks and the media just not being overly friendly and warming and welcoming towards Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I suppose the country being so sparsely populated to get enough people in one city on one night to host something like that would be, very, very difficult.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right. So what do you think, guys? How are we doing on time, Will?
We're over a little bit, but you know how things go.
All right.
I guess we can jump into kind of a quick Coinigy update if that's cool with everyone. Let
I
me
think that
just
makes
get on
sense.
screen share here.
Thank you, Michaela. And
Okay.
by all means, as we do like the Altcoin 5 and stuff, just so everybody knows, we have one of Michaela's coins we're going to take a look at tonight, so we'll hear some more from her on that. And really, what we'd love to have Michaela. And the long and short of it, guys, is you viewers let us know whether we should be pounding on Michaela's door to have her back here regularly, right? So,
Uh-oh, leaving
yeah,
it up to the crowd.
that's right. So we want to hear some feedback. What do you think, guys? Do you like Michaela and do you want her back? We want to hear. So thank you, Michaela. That was an awesome, awesome piece. And really, I'm just in awe of you. So everybody, we'll segue on to Will's segment here, just a little piece on what's happening with Coinigy website. But thank you again, Madame. That was excellently done.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
Woohoo! Good job, Michaela.
Yay!
All
Okay,
right.
Will. So what's Coinigy got for us to look at this week?
Okay, so this week, number one, just wanted to remind everybody we have this awesome new overview page that we are currently working on adding more markets to. So as opposed to right now where it's strictly your favorites, we're trying to work on, there's quite a bit involved, but we're trying to actually get every single market updating live on this page. So if you want, you can then sort by volume, you can potentially down the road filter by indicator values. So if RSI reaches, if RSI is overbought, undersold, or vice versa, we're going to give you the option to actually run a filter through every single market that we support, and you'll be able to basically chart scan via this page. And then as usual, you can click on the market here, get a quick OHLC chart. We're actually currently fixing this up a little bit. As you can see, it's going out of the bounds. Launch that market. Not a problem here. And then, right there, now I'm into OK Coin BTC CNY. But the almost more important thing that I wanted to bring up is we just launched our referral program. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. We've gotten inundated by support tickets for people requesting a referral program. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and implemented that. And the way it works now, if you go to My Account, you're going to go right over here to, on this top tab, Referral Program, and you have a unique link. So all you need to do, you can tweet this link, you can share it on Facebook. We have a zillion different options for automatic sharing. Whenever somebody signs up using your referral link, you're going to get credited $15 to your account. So what that means is your balance is going to go up, and you can actually apply that to your Coinigy account. So, for example, I have $40 in my account. You can actually just click Apply to my Coinigy account, and you can immediately get a month free. Right now, it's pegged at $15 equals 15 days. So in longer months, it's technically 31 days. So $30 for 31 days. In shorter months, it's $30 for 30 days. Or you can redeem a Bitcoin gift card, and we'll mail that out to you. More importantly, we have a lot of people that purchased Coinigy memberships during our pre-sale, and we thank you all very much. You really helped us kind of get off of our feet a little bit and get things moving. What you can do is anyone that you've referred since you've been a Coinigy member, you can let them know to share their code with you. And all you have to do is enter their code right here. Or I'm sorry, vice versa. You have somebody else. Actually, it is give credit. My apologies. So you enter their code, and that will give them credit, basically. So if somebody referred you, you can enter the code and give them credit. Apologies, I'm having a brain fart here. So anybody who signed up during our pre-sale can basically give credit to the person that referred them, and you can cash that out in the form of a gift card, et cetera, et cetera. So we're pretty excited about this. And yeah, that's about it for this week. We have a couple things that are going to be that we're working on under the radar right now for the next one. So that's about it for me. I think we're going to jump into the Rational Investor now.
All right, and that I just want to say that's excellent stuff. I love that screening tool. And maybe we might even get like a Willy Stupid screen. Wouldn't that be cool? Where it just shows you all the markets that are. Yeah, all the markets that are stupid.
We'll put some googly eyes on the market when it gets stupid or something.
That's music to my ears. All right, gang. At this point, in our show, what we like to do is sort of turn this open for the audience. We basically take feedback through the week, and I do hear actually myself speaking. So maybe guys, you could just go on mute while I go through this. Thank you, whoever that was. And long and short of it, as I said, I constantly am getting notifications from you guys. Lots and lots of requests. And really, I just can't get to all of the coins. It's just impossible. But we actually went, Michaela gave the suggestion, why don't you just put them into a hat and draw straws? And so as a result, that's kind of what I did. I tried to, if somebody submitted multiple coins, I kind of said, look, we'll just give you one out of your list, and hopefully this placates everyone. I did see earlier tonight there were a few requests to take a look at one of the marijuana coins, and so I thought just out of courtesy right at the end we'll try and sneak that in. So it's 7:54 now. Let's try and maybe do like 3 or 4 minutes a coin and get this sort of wrapped up by 10-15 minutes past the hour. Sound good, guys?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, what I probably will do is as I go through the coins, I'm a technical analyst. I'll look at the charts, I'll look at price action, the indicators, and that's my gift to the world. Am I an expert on these individual coins? No way. There's no way I'll ever say that. And I think the audience sort of understands that. As we go through the symbols tonight, it's kind of funny because somebody gives me a symbol on Twitter and I plug it in. And it turns out that we actually have to be careful because some symbols can mean one thing on one exchange and mean yet another completely different thing on another exchange. So we have a funny sort of story of that tonight. But without further ado, let's get on to the coins and let's get working. So, it was interesting. The first coin that I'm going to look at here is this MZC, or the Mazda coin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And the reason why I'm looking at this one in particular is, when we met Michaela there about a week or so ago, I was just curious, she's got a pretty solid head on her shoulders. I was just curious as to what she might be interested in. And this is one that she told us that she was interested in. And if I'm not mistaken, look how high this thing's come from. It's just, come right out of the sky, just collapsed. I do understand there's a specific story behind this, and I also understand, I think Michaela, she kind of hinted to us that she was involved in this group that ran it up here in the spring, I guess, when is that, over the winter. But, as we are now, I just said, is there something that you're looking at that you're interested in? She said, yeah, I'm interested in this MZC. So maybe Michaela, you could just give our audience the 2-minute spiel. Why should we be interested in this coin at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mazda coin was originally developed for the Indian reservation, I believe in North Carolina. I believe that's where they're located. So for those who aren't aware of what an Indian reservation is, pretty much it's a donation of lands from the U.S. government after they obviously took the native Indians' lands and everything else, so they could start their own sort of country, and they have their own rules and everything else. So at the moment, they don't actually have their own currency. They pretty much just use the US dollar. So one of the things they wanted to do was develop their own currency. So that's when they decided to commission Marsacoin. So obviously, with these Indian reservations, they are quite big on the gambling front, and there are a lot of casinos. So I was working with a company in the US called Coin Outlet, which is an ATM company run by a lovely man named Eric Grill. The Indian reservation actually approached his company and said, "Look, we'd like to get some, ATMs into our casinos, and that would ultimately dispense Marsacoin, so people could gamble with it." So I'm pretty sure there's still talks going on in the works there, but there was a very interesting speculation that was put out by one of the head chairmen in the reservation. His name was Payu, and he actually said he wanted to try and make Marsacoin go dollar for dollar for US. So that's pretty much where that spike came from. You see in the winter, like that's when he first sort of made that comment. So obviously, if you bought in, when Marsacoin was only like a quarter of a cent or whatever it was, you could have potentially have been multi-millionaire if he wanted to go dollar for dollar. So I'm not sure what's going on there at the moment, but definitely one to look out for. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for that summary. What I see here technically, and longtime viewers of my material will come to appreciate that when I see a face rip down like this where price just collapses, of course, me as a technician, I get interested, right? And then through the tutorial series that we've done here, through these webinars, hopefully you guys are starting to pick up on just general ideas of lows, highs, higher lows, breakout, and I'm trying to draw straight lines. I'm not quite sure why they're squiggly here, but the long and short of it here is, technically speaking, and really what I'd like our audience to get to is the point where they can see this kind of stuff on their own. But hopefully what you can see here is a case where price basically just went sideways for quite an extended period after it had collapsed, right? You can see how long it went sideways here. And then started to break out and make, as we said, higher lows and higher highs. So what's interesting here is you could have actually justified buying this at 24 ticks right there, and the end result was, boom, big rally, right? And this turned out, it topped out at 500 ticks. So what the heck? That was a 10-bagger. Hopefully you regular watchers, and of course if there are any site members and stuff watching, you'll understand that I just simply have a principle that outgoes half on a double. So hopefully you can see we would have gotten a double off there, and then we would have had an open order working there, and we would have gotten a double off, right? And this is the great part about trading from using this kind of perspective, is I'm not telling the market where it's going to top out. The market's going to tell me where it topped out, and I'm just going to have my orders sitting at appropriate levels, and when they're hit, boom, time to cash, ring the cash register, right? And it just keeps going and going. In this case, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles off. Do we get another one? Oh, didn't quite get 4. So we got like 400% return on this trade. And the irony of it all is up here, even though you did get filled, you still have more coins on the books. An example of one that we did 6 months ago was canned. Same sort of thing. Hopefully you guys can see that really this was nothing more than a case of the market stopped making new lows and started making higher lows and higher highs. And of course, the end result was, where are we here? Boom, right? A four-bagger. So interesting to see the MZC do that last year. And as Michaela said, it was just simply on somebody talking in the public that, oh yeah, ultimately we'd love to have this pie in the sky target. Hopefully you can also understand too, though, that probably a lot of people that bought down here, they were taking profits, and you also, as a professional trader, need to understand that maybe the people that were running this up were actually going to use this big speech that this person gave as their selling event, right? And we teach in our classes that sometimes these big news events, very similar to what we saw on that Ripple earlier, and I won't pull it up because lack of time here, but basically news events can often act as sort of topping events in the market. So where does that bring us to now? As Julian always says, don't tell me about the past, Brian, tell me about the future. So if I was thinking about reloading on this coin, the first thing that I would simply say is I need to see whether the market believes this coin is actually in a bull market, right? And what I really want to see is I want to see some market structure start to form, like Michaela was saying earlier. I want to start seeing W's, right? That's what's going to start getting me bullish. You can see it tried to W through here, and there was a little bit of a rally. You might have actually been able to get some free coins out of that. It's tough to say. But you can see as it's been working away here, it's having a really hard time really turning that corner in earnest. We do have another potential W type action here. And what's interesting is I have my account over on Bitterx. And so if we go and look at Bitterx right now, what I notice is we actually have a small trading range that's been established. And so, based on the simple fact that this thing was so high, right? I mean, this thing was monstrously higher, even just this rally peak. Hopefully you guys can understand that if this is the turn, I can actually justify, again, reload. In this case, this would be the reload short zone up here. I can actually justify 369 ticks as my target. So on the Bitterx exchange, what I've simply done, and actually we covered this a week or two ago in our Fibs tutorial, is I'm going to hunt that reload zone, right? And I'm going to just start going and nibbling here. Because actually we've had a bunch of winners lately, so I'm actually Bitcoin rich right now. And I want to go spend some Bitcoins. Like right now, my biggest position in my portfolio is Bitcoins. And I don't want it to be. I want it to be altcoins. So I actually have to go shopping.
So is that some kind of ominous note, Brian, that you're holding more Bitcoin than alts right now?
Well,
are you trying to tell us something?
Well, the bottom line here, right, is you guys have heard me say this before. Seasonality. Buy when it snows, sell when it goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't say, and you've heard in the stock market, sell in May and walk away, right?
Yep.
So the bottom line here is it really shouldn't surprise us that our altcoins are rallying now. And here's a great example, IOC, right? This is a coin that actually I'm taking profits on as we speak, right? You had to have the cojones to go in and buy when it started snowing. Do you see? November, December, January. If you bought down here, you're laughing right now.
Mm-hmm.
You guys understand that?
Ironically, too, during those months, I mean, that's when everybody was saying alts are dead.
Yes, exactly. And as wise, shrewd investors, that's how you have to act. You have to buy when others are selling and sell when others are buying. So, I actually kind of messed this trade up, but the long and short of it here is this is a double level for me, so I just got filled on this trade. So I was fortunate, but really we really shouldn't be surprised that our investments that we made back in October, November, December, January are starting to come to fruition here in April, May, and June. This is very normal for the market. I noticed that the altcoins actually have so much inertia that they often push into June and July. I'm a little concerned lately. I'm starting to see some signs that maybe prices are getting a little bit beyond themselves. Can you understand on this IOC? I can't buy this coin here. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. Yep.
Right? I just simply could not buy this here. I have to wait for the market to calm down, put in another W, and then we can go. Right?
Brian, is IOC one of the altcoin 5?
No, it isn't, and I got to keep moving on here. I'm sorry.
No problem.
And there's so much I'd love to talk about this Mazda because there's some really cool stuff. Like on this screen, this is when I originally looked at the chart, right? Can you understand? Here's a nice W. Down, up, down, breakout, right? So it makes sense to me why there's a bottom down here at about 40, 50 ticks, right? Can you guys see the W reaction here?
Yeah.
Right? And interestingly, we ran up to what we call our first stop target, right? 38.2 fib. And we smacked right off of it. So basically what I've been telling people is if we can bust out through 38.2, then we're going to get the green light for a serious rally here. All right, let's keep moving on here. Sorry, guys. Next one on the block, BYC. Does anybody have anything to mention about BYC? Crickets?
Bring your coat.
Oh, man. All right, so these are basically coins that are asked to be reviewed. I can give you my technical 2 cents. If we don't have anybody on the panel that can't comment on the coin itself, I apologize. But we're just going to have to leave it there. So somebody asked me to take a look at BYC. Can you guys see a familiar pattern here, right? I like coins that have been ripped apart. That makes me nice and happy. As well, can you guys see how there's a nice double bottom here, and they rallied it right up into 38.2, right? Right up onto this rally peak. You'll also notice, too, that they backed the market off, and look where they backed it off into. Right into that reloading zone, 61.8 to 78.6 fib. Then, and we have a saying in the market, wicks and tails like to be eaten. You notice there's a wick up here. See how the market went up and ate that wick. Same thing here. Hopefully you can see the top of this candle is a monstrous wick. The market did nothing more than just work its way up to eat up this wick. Nom, nom, nom. In fact, Bitcoin's been doing that recently. If we I don't want to get off topic. I've got to keep moving on here. So BYC currently, that's the chart I did for the gentleman who asked me to look at it. Currently, you notice that we're a little bit toppy here, right? Can you guys see the double bottom, right? Here's the W. In fact, you could argue it's even right off of this level right here, right? You can see the higher highs and higher lows. What number is that? That's 2499. Can you understand that if you bought the market where you were supposed to buy it, you should have sold half of your coins at 5,000, right? And basically be sitting on a free trade right now, right? Right there. So really, at this point, you should be on free coins. There's that wick that's been eaten. And now you can see that we're kind of rolling over here. The indicators are all looking a bit toppy, and frankly, you should be sitting on free coins.
Are we kind of waiting for an M right now, Brian?
Well, can you argue?
Look like the left hump of an M?
You can kind of see an M right here. Up, down, little up, down. If I change this to a line chart, can you see the M?
A little bit.
Right
so Brian,
here?
if I'm not in this BYC at the moment, what would you recommend that I should be doing? Should I sell?
Right
should
now,
I short it?
Well, you know, the long and short of it here is nobody knows for certain what's going to happen in the marketplace at any given point in time, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. You have to, if you are thinking about investing or trading this, you have to approach it from a trading plan and make sure that you don't take too much risk, right? And in our school, we spend lots of time talking about appropriate risk. In our recent videos, you guys remember we talked about the reloading zones, right? This optimal trade entry fib level. Notice how the optimal trade entry zone lines up with the original double bottom breakout levels. As well, and JC just went through this a few months ago, in our level 2 program we study horizontal support and resistance levels, and hopefully you can understand that each of these lows actually represents like a battle point. Somebody said no, and the market stopped going down. No, no. So odds are, if the market gets back down into these areas, somebody who said no here might very likely say no again and put a bottom in the market. So my advice for someone who is interested in this BYC is you're going to have to hunt this 2700 area right down in here. I don't think it makes a good sense to chase the market here. And, you know, very simple, just like that IOC, the market's rallied. There's no way we can justify owning this up here or buying it. You might be able to own free coins, but you can't buy it. And so what you have to do is just patiently wait for the market to come back down into an acceptable trade location. And then my advice is take a look at your indicators. Are they bottoming? Or are they still topping, right? Understand, you know, in one of our recent videos, we talked about the concept of momentum divergence. Do we have any bullish divergences developing should price get back down into this window? Does that make sense? Julian, what do you think? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Seems
Okay.
like I don't want to be in this coin right now.
Well, you could be on your free coins, right?
Well,
Nothing
no, I
wrong with
didn't.
owning a
I
free
didn't. But I don't
position.
have free coins. I didn't buy it.
Okay, well then my advice is, yeah, just be patient. And, you know, we often call them the summer doldrums. And wait for an acceptable trade location. Right now, I just don't think it's acceptable trade location.
All right. So what's the
Okay,
next
moving
coin
right
we're looking at?
along. Next one on the block, XBS. How are we doing on time? Am I going over, guys?
We're a bit over, so we gotta speed up a little bit.
Okay, I'll try and go a little faster. Anybody have any comments on XBS?
Take it away, Brian.
Anybody in the audience have any comments?
Will, did you look into any of these? I remember you and I were talking a little bit early. Did you find anything on these guys? Oh, we've lost Will. All right, we'll just keep moving on here. XBS, really cool story. Again, if we sort of look at this from market structure, you can see WEs starting to form on this move through here, right? And that's sort of this horizontal level that I mentioned here, right? And you see how when the market popped up, it gave you a really nice window. So nice that you could have gotten yourself some free coins, right? No reason why you couldn't have sold half on a double on this breakout off of this W here. Market then spent a bunch of time cleaning that up. You'll notice that we put in WEs again here, right? Higher highs and higher lows, right? And again, if you had taken these levels, right? How are we doing here? Did we lose contact with anybody? Are we still on board? I think Will is trying to talk to us through Skype. So, Jason, Julian, can you maybe just touch base with him on Skype?
No, we're fine. I've been talking to him. We're good. Keep going.
Great. All right, so W's, away we go. New bull rally. Hopefully you can understand. If you had taken this W here, you could have very easily gotten half off on a double. So somebody says to me the other day, Brian, what do you think of this XBS? Hopefully you guys understand now. I like it when I see this kind of action, right? They are washing this market out, and that's exactly what I told this gentleman. This market has been washed out, and hopefully you guys can understand a lot of the people that probably bought up here, they're gone, right? They've been wiped out. All right, so let's go see what's actually going on right now. And this guy actually surprised me because literally the day that I mentioned the tweet, right? You see that? That literally the day that I mentioned that this thing was washed out, they popped it. Boom. So obviously somebody else knew that this thing was way oversold. All right. Do we have a W yet here? The answer is no, we don't. So be careful with this one. We don't have market structure that has actually said that this thing's turned the corner. Now, the good part about this, and what I kind of like, again, like I said before, is they have washed this thing out, right?
Hey, Brian, sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Yeah, I had a PC issue, so I'm on mobile now.
Okay,
I'm
that's
watching
cool.
along on mobile.
All right,
Oh
cool.
my God,
Got
you
your
look like
back.
a scary ghost.
All right, yeah, you're gonna boom.
The Will Ghost is here.
All right. Okay, so let me just keep powering through so I can get through this. I think, if we talk horizontal support and resistance, can you see how this level here might be tested in the future, right? If we draw a fib going back up to the highs, what a coincidence. There's 38.2 and that old high. I wouldn't be surprised on this one if this is the current playground. I don't necessarily have a buy setup off of this thing, but if I wanted to try and play this setup, right, what I would do right now, if I believe that this market had bottomed, is very much like that last coin that we just looked at, is I would take my handy dandy fib tool, right, and I would simply draw a fib from high back down to low, and I'm going to concentrate my efforts on hunting for market structure, my indicator signals, right, in this zone right here. So I could justifiably work stink bids at 17,988 right now, with the anticipation that because we are so washed out, these lows are potentially going to hold. We do not, though, have confirmed market structure here. So I still think this is in the process of bottoming, so don't get too excited. But this is a very interesting looking little story here. Again, this is a market that I might be working stink bids. I don't have a position, and I certainly couldn't buy it at market right now. All right, moving right along. I'm going to skip over him just a moment. This was the story about be careful about symbols on different exchanges. So somebody tweeted me, Brian, can you please look at STR? And so I said, all right, fine, I'll look at STR. And I tweeted this out, and one person who follows me, I can't exactly remember exactly how I know him, he actually tweeted me back, Brian, are you feeling all right? And I was like, what? I don't understand. What's the problem? And it turns out that the person actually wanted not the Cripsy STR, but they wanted the Poly STR. So be careful which exchange you're referring to when you ask me to look at a coin. I don't know. I'm a technician. I just go into Coinigy and I type in STR, right? And all these different choices come up. All right, so this, if I understand, this is Star Coin or something like that. It's an old story, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's defunct. I'm not totally certain.
Does it have anything to do with the Super Mario?
No, but it's
No,
something cartoony like that. If I look on my Twitter feed, I can find it, but I'm speaking way too much here, so I got to keep moving on. If I understand correctly, the person that wanted me to comment on this STR was talking about the Polo STR. So, interesting chart again. You can see the big rally here, right? Hopefully you guys can see the W. Look at this W. Up, down, kaboom. Beautiful breakout here, and the breakout was on massive volume. Somebody tonight in our chat room on our website was saying, yeah, OBV breakouts are okay, but you got to take them with a grain of salt. Here clearly is an OBV breakout, and in the class, David, you remember I said judge OBV based on the chunky bars in the volume. So you can see here that the chunky volume bars are confirming the OBV breakout. So that's just a special little tutorial just for you, David. All right, long and short of it here, W's, breakout, nice momentum breakout. Remember we talked about MACD, apply your market structure to MACD. You can see the W here. Volume breakout, this thing was ready to rock and roll, and vroom, it did, right? Clearly you could got lots of doubles off here, lots of free coins. It should have made you very, very happy. All right, and once the sort of bull face rip is over, then we go through the process of, unfortunately, washing the public out of the story. And here, great example, here's our reload zone, the 61.8 fib to the 78.6 fib. Warning for Coinigy TradingView users of this trading library. Remember, we covered this in our fib tutorial. The default setting for your fib study is wrong. It should be 78.6, not 76.4, which is what they have it at.
Hey,
So
Brian.
sure. Yeah.
Looks like I'm back. Sorry, my computer went crazy. So, just as a note, we're actually looking at implementing your version of the fibs.
Cool. Well, I mean, it's not my version. I mean, you can go out on into the trading world, and everybody works off of 78.6. Frankly, I don't know how this TradingView library got on 76.4. I talk about it in my classes. I believe that it's a function of it being easier for the computer programmers.
Yeah, that may very well be. Yeah.
Right, and ironically enough, it's not something that they got from the trading world. So anyway, long and short of it here is, can you guys see that this process of working price back down into the reload zone, it was painful, right? And this is exactly what's supposed to happen. That by time we get down into the area where institutions, whales, all that, are interested in owning this, the public has lost complete interest. Right, and it's really cool. Some of these webinar, shows that I do, it's really cool to talk to developers, because by time an asset gets down into the OTE like this, they're kind of like, yep, I'm slowly buying the coin back. Yep, it looks good. The story's all solid. Yep, way to go. The public has lost complete interest. So I was very curious on this STR, and I want to hear back from the community. You guys tell me in your tweets, what happened this day, right? It was right about the middle of April. Something big happened here, right? And this is a cool intersection of technical analysis and fundamental analysis, right? Something clearly fundamentally happened on this day. I believe that there was a major ownership shift in this coin. And what's really interesting about this, right, is when we look at the chart, we can see that that happened exactly on this trend line breakout, right?
Brian, what is the date? That's like mid-April?
The specific date is April 10th and 11th, right? And that was the day that this thing broke out of this monster downtrend. So it'd be just very curious to see what happened. Now, hopefully, when you guys see this, Michaela, do you see this? What letter of the alphabet, Michaela, are we looking at here? Down, up, down,
W.
up. Yay! Thank you, madame. Big kisses. Long and short of it here.
Brian, you never give me kisses.
Not going to touch that one, buddy.
Really? Will, he gives me kisses sometimes.
There you go.
Well, you guys have your own thing going on there.
All right, so the point here is hopefully the community can see we have a situation where we're making higher highs and higher lows. And what a coincidence, it's coming right in our reload zone. Make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So, whoops, what did I just do there? I don't know what I did. Okay, so that's it for STR. On to the next one. Somebody asked me earlier today about Potcoin. I thought it was interesting. These marijuana coins, can you guys see this process again? I mean, it just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's the same stuff over and over and over. So pot coins came down here, right, into the end of the year. This was probably a lot of tax loss selling, especially the spike all the way down to these lows here. You can see WE type action in here, and you can see a nice little pop-up through this candle wick high. Was a half decent little buy signal. Probably not the best buy signal, but it was in there nonetheless. Nice big rally. Boom! Right? You probably could have got free coins out of that. Yep, you could have. Then we spend the process of slowly washing the public out of this coin. You guys see how this repeats itself over and over and over? This is no accident, right? OTE, or reload zone, 61.8 or 78.6 fibs. This is where we should start getting interested. Now you notice he would zip down in here and then quickly zip away. Zip down in here, zip away. Zip down in here, zip away. What I really like, what I saw here when I looked at this today, was notice this nice little WE type action in here, right? Can you guys see this? So in our acceptable trade location zone, nice WE type action, and here comes the buyers. Can you guys see this big green candle, or this big green node right here? Right? And so we said, remember we looked at a coin earlier. We said if you get the breakout, in fact we even talked about it in this class today. So all our Europeans, remember we talked about this today if you're watching this video. Volume confirms market structure, powerful signal, right? Volumes speak volumes. So what I noticed here today too is when I looked at this level, this is 350. I think you could have very easily justified buying this at 350. Stops, if you want, technically speaking, OTE is actually a range strategy, so you would actually be risking on a range setup down to these lows here. And your target, believe it or not, is a test of this high up here. So you could have risked down to these lows. If you wanted to keep it really simple, don't risk more than 5% of your portfolio, yada, yada, yada. If you wanted to go the margin route, now we have these crazy altcoins trading on margin. You could have put your stop below these lows here, gone long here. That would have been your risk. And as you can see, this is sell half on a double level, and it's right in a reload short zone, where if the big boys were going to put a top in the market, this is where they're most likely going to do it. So the buy from 350 actually could afford you a nice double, get some free coins on simply a move into an area where we would expect resistance to come in. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting.
Okay, last thing I'll mention, somebody asked me to take a look at this URO. I won't talk a lot about it. I do own this. Somebody asked recently, for me to look at this. I have been looking at that UNO and this URO, and they kind of look similar. Again, you guys have heard this. This has got to be broken record now, right? I'm not buying this stuff up here. I will only buy it after it's been washed out, right? So they clearly washed this thing out. And actually, the gentleman that asked me about it, I said, you know what? I kind of like this story. Because if we just do really, really simple, fibs, let's even just go off of this panic peak here, right? I think I can get myself some free coins here relatively simply. So hopefully you guys can see we have a nice W that came in down here, down, up, down, up, down, up. So I went and I picked some of this up. I was like, what the hell? Why not? Right? And you can see just off of this rally peak, kind of like Michaela's coin. I'm not looking for URO to go back up to these old highs. All I'm asking for is let's go up and maybe test this high. You can see that this level of me getting long is down here at what, 48? Is that what that says? 43. So for me to get a double, I got to see 83, right? Or 86. That's right in there. Do you think I can see that? I think so. And then my next double, right, is 17, right in there. That's only the 50% level. Where's my next double, right? 32. Now this might be stretching a bit. Basically, for me to get 3 doubles off here, I got to see a new high. I think I would be more than happy to get myself free coins, get all my original investment back in my hands, and then give me a 100% return on the trade with coins still on the books, free coins. And I think that's actually a fairly realistic target. That's our good old 50% rule.
So, Brian, what do you think is going to be, the catalyst for this to actually happen as far as the rise? I mean,
well, I would actually say
the
catalyst has already started, and that was the coin stop making lower lows and start making higher lows and higher highs. So in my opinion, I think that the technical catalyst has already started.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised along the way that we have to come down and do OTEs, right? And frankly speaking, we might, considering the seasonality, we might have to go down and probe these lows. I don't think so, but hey, market can do any old damn thing it wants. The reason why I like this and the reason why I'm willing to put some coins into it, and again, keep in mind, I don't risk more than 5% of my portfolio on any one single idea, is look, if this thing ever gets its act together, look how far it has to come. I mean, quite literally, this one coin could make me a millionaire, right? I mean, look how far it has to go. I mean, look at can you look at this? It's ridiculous. It keeps going.
That's up there.
It keeps going. Where the hell's the damn top? Right? It keeps going. Look at this. All right, there's the top finally. All right, so now looking in retrospect, is it worth going and taking a nibble way down here? In my opinion, you know what? That's not a bad thing to just, this altcoin portfolio that we run, so far we started in like September, October. We funded it with 1.5 Bitcoins, like $500. Not a hell of a lot of money. And right now we're sitting on 2.75 Bitcoins. And keep in mind that no one position represents more than 5% risk on the portfolio. We have had 3 coins blow up in that 9-month period out of 34 coins that we've traded. So far, we have about 17 or 18 free positions, quote unquote, right? We got ourselves free coins. So and I've told the audience before this, I believe that we're in the stage of this sort of calm before the storm. And once this cryptocurrency storm comes, it's going to be a tsunami. So what I want to do right now is I just want to try and get as many free positions as possible. Just keep building and building and building. Because my hunch is when this market gets going, I believe this wick will be eaten. Make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
All right, so why don't I leave my altcoin 5 on there? I think I got them all. If I didn't talk about your coin in particular, just ask me again, and I'll be more than happy to review it next show.
Brian, yep. I know we normally do just altcoin 5, but is there any way, I mean, we should probably wrap it up. Is there any way we can do a 1 or 2 minute, real quick, not on anything in the past, just future, of your thoughts on BTC, maybe Bitfinex exchange?
All right. The first thing that I would say, and we talked about this earlier tonight, was we actually were talking about a trade setup here on Bitcoin recently. It was a long setup off of the 1 hours, or maybe it was higher. Yeah, there it is, right in there. If we look at something along these lines, we had Willie washed out here, stupid. We had OBV stupid. We had, well, not stupid, but, you know, basically washed out, starting to make higher highs and higher lows. We had a nice little double bottom that came in here. You know, in the course we talk about candlestick patterns, and this was a fractal right here. So there were quite a few reasons to consider going long off of Bitcoin, like we just had this big meltdown, right? And if we do, you know, simple fibs, hopefully our audience will be very familiar with this. You know, there's a 50% rule, there's 38.2. These are very natural sort of bounce levels. If shorters wanted to short, this is the short reload zone right up here, 61.8 to 78.6, right up in there, right? So there was reason to look for a Bitcoin rally here, right? I'm a little disappointed in myself. I did take the long, and then on this sort of pop-up here, I got chicken. I moved my stop to just below this low here, and I got stopped out here for just a minuscule gain, right? Just a total partial, really not even worth my while. And a professional, right, and this is a word to the wise, a professional, right, takes the setup and lives with the risk. I actually pulled a very amateur move in that I moved my stop prematurely, got stopped out, booked, you know, an inconsequential trade, and yet the silly market just kept moving higher here. And interestingly enough, one of my students and a gentleman that we've asked to do the news here, he actually took the same trade, and he acted in a professional manner, and he booked a nice 2-to-1 win on the trade. Way to go, JC.
I saw the tweet.
JC, can you can you show that picture, JC? Can you show it real quick?
Yeah, I think
he's got a little chart.
Yeah, it was a beautiful little setup, and he did it very, very well, and it just goes to show that the student can sometimes teach the teacher some new tricks. Let's see, I even had it right here.
I think JC's screen sharing now. We're trying to get a bigger picture here.
Okay, what do I got here? There it is.
See that? It's kind of hard to see, I think.
Brian,
and what's
JC
really
has
interesting,
it up on his screen.
Yeah, and what's really interesting too, and this is just sort of a side for everybody to know, we do have a super top secret project that we're working on at The Rational Investor, and it actually gave us a buy signal off of that exact same setup. So I was really, really pleased at that, and it just goes to show that it was a pretty good looking long trade down there. Now, Julian said, don't tell me about the past, tell me about the future, Brian. And of course, I'm terrible at this, so I apologize, Julian. I tried as best as I could there to talk too much about the past. Now,
that's okay.
Here we are in the present, okay? First and foremost, we have a couple problems here. The first problem for the bulls is we have a rather pronounced bearish momentum divergence that's potentially forming here. If we see momentum move through these lows, you'll notice that price, even though momentum was making lower highs, price itself was making higher highs. This is, you know, you remember our tutorial series on using the momentum, the MACD momentum indicator. This is our example of a problem that is a potential divergence right now, but it could turn into a confirmed divergence if our MACD indicator goes below this level right here. So something for you to keep an eye on out there. The second thing I would say is, hopefully you guys can see, if I was a whale, right, and I traded this, and I took the rally, and I made money like JC, hopefully you can understand I couldn't buy up here. If I wanted to rebuy that position, I would have to start hunting for a pullback into this zone, right, our reload zone. And what a coincidence, do you guys see that it just so happens to be right off of this low, right? There. and the original double bottom breakout level, right? And what's really interesting is for the coin competition, I actually took this bull Rami right here. So what a coincidence that our, those people that follow Michael Huddleston on ICT, Inner Circle Trader, he likes to call this the optimal trade entry zone. I think I'm going to use the term reload zone from now on. Basically, this is the area that if I was a whale and I thought that this was a bottom, this is the area that I would consider buying. I couldn't buy up here. All right, so you see Willie. I think maybe in a week or maybe next tutorial series, we'll do our tutorial on Willie. But
Yeah, that would
Willie
be great.
actually gave us a little bit of a sell signal here. So we also have a fractal top right up here. Exact opposite to this fractal bottom. We have a fractal top right here. So long and short of it here, momentum not really happy. Willie kind of not quite stupid. He got a little stupid here, but generally overbought and rolling over. And our reload zone down in this area, this 230 area, I'm kind of reluctant to touch Bitcoin for the next little bit.
See, to the contrary, Brian, if you're happy to figure out a way with your international remittance, when the market does this, this is actually a great opportunity to take advantage of Bitcoin in an arbitrage sense between the US dollar and the Australian dollar. Because at the moment, with this current pricing, the Australian equivalent is about $291. If you were to buy that Bitcoin on an exchange now, say Bitfinex, and then move it onto an Australian exchange here, such as BTC Markets, you could potentially actually make about a $20 profit, because there's actually a $20 spread between the Australian and US markets at the moment.
That's right, and I've seen that in Canada here. It seems to be the same situation where Julian will send me my monthly pay, and he uses Bitfinex specifically a US dollar, and then when I go and I actually sell it on the Canadian exchanges, and I haven't quite figured it out, for some reason there's a substantial premium over the regular currency market. Isn't that interesting? And it's just a side. I mean, Julian, we do this. Julian, just so everybody knows, Julian just got really mad at me for saying that. We're having fun here. It's not really that big of a deal. The long and short of it here is, I agree with you, Michaela. I'm seeing the same thing on the Canadian Bitcoin markets as well. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's quite bizarre. Like, I mean, it just seems that the smaller markets, like you said, Canada and Australian, just don't seem to bottom out like the rest of the markets do, like the European and the US.
You know, there's a lot of discussion about that, and I know one thing that comes into play is how easy is it to get money out of those particular exchanges. You know, for example, BTCE often the price might be a little bit higher, however, actually getting the money out is a lot trickier on that exchange.
Yeah.
So
totally.
that does play a little bit. I don't know how hard it is to actually get money in and out of the Australian exchanges, but I know, as far as US-based exchanges like Coinbase, for example, they require a lot of, identity verification. Bitstamp does as well. So once you're verified, you're good to go. But yeah, I don't know. I think that plays a little bit in there.
It would seem to me, and I wouldn't be surprised, that the big boys are taking advantage of this arbitrage. Totally agree with you, 100%. Us little fish, it's tricky. The exchange, I was actually working with one exchange in Canada, and out of the blue, these exchanges just closed up shop. Just out of the blue. And it was quite shocking. And CA Vertex is the one that I was working with. And now all of a sudden, boom, they're back. So that's an issue.
That seems kind of like a common occurrence, and it's really irritating. Especially for us, we go out of the way to program this stuff. So
right, and so maybe there is actually a premium built in to these sort of, you might even call them like tertiary exchanges, right? You want to do business on these exchanges. If you want to buy on these exchanges, it's going to cost you a little bit more. You want to sell, right, and actually take the chance of doing business and actually trying to get your currency, well, you're going to make a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Okay,
Cool.
so Julian, I just did a little summary on BTC. Is that kind of what you were shooting for?
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, cool. I went a little. Holy crap! Did I ever go over? I'm sorry, guys. I tried as best as I could.
Oh, it's fine. We're good to go.
Okay, well, what
It
do you
was
think? Should we wrap
worthwhile.
it up there?
Yeah, I think it's almost Miller time here. So.
Julian, were there any questions out on the YouTube feed?
Nope. Pretty quiet audience tonight, it seems. No questions. Any last minute questions, everybody out there listening? Feel free to post in the YouTube link. We'll
I
give it
think I
like.
saw somebody on Twitter suggesting that I take on Potcoin Babe. Or Cannabis Coin Babe.
We can set that up for a future show.
I personally like Bitcoin Babe.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm
has
sure
a
we can
nice
do a day
ring.
where I can come in wearing my marijuana logo shirt, and I'll be like, "Sup, guys? It's Dopecoin Babe."
There you go. Right on. Well, I guess we'll start wrapping it up then. Once again, thanks to everybody. We'll get our website plugs in here. Once again, I'm William Kale, co-founder of Coinigy.com. Coinigy allows you to connect your API accounts for various Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchanges, and you can actually trade directly through Coinigy. We provide great data integrity, excellent HD charts, and we have a growing community, so definitely check us out. And I'll turn it over to Brian.
All right, thank you, Will. This is Brian Beamish from TheRationalInvestor.co and my cohort, partner in crime, Julian. Real pleasure speaking with all of you tonight. JC, fantastic job on the news as always. Great trading. And you know what, guys, simply put, if you are watching this video and you just simply want to watch a pro in action, JC, just follow him. It's beautiful to watch him in action. Just absolutely beautiful.
And he's got a great website.
Yeah, and of course, I would love for you to follow me. I think we give great value. Just so you understand it, The Rational Investor, positive mental attitude, PMA, is our core belief. We simply cannot succeed in the education process without a positive mental attitude. And so as a result, I actually approach this entire project as we are an incubator, right? And the people that come to us, they want to learn, they don't want to be made fun of, and that is a primary goal of us through our school, through our Gold Site memberships, through our customer service. We are, just adamant about it being a positive, friendly environment where people can come and learn and not feel like they're being trolled. I loved hearing from Michaela and her talk about how she can provide that kind of environment for women. I think, unfortunately, in this world, a lot of guys can be real jerks to women on the internet, and it can go down that very awkward conversation route. So the things that I'm hearing from Michaela about inclusion, about providing support for that community, that's music to my ears. Absolutely love to hear that, and hats off to you, Michaela. Been a real pleasure talking to you all tonight. Maybe, Michaela, I'll give you the floor next to maybe just give a little plug for your site and your services. I'll say goodnight for Julian on behalf of Julian's part and myself, and I can't wait to talk to all of you again in the coming weeks and months ahead. Have a great night, everybody. Michaela, did you want to do a little close?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I'm Michaela from Bitcoin Babe Australia. Be sure to check me out on my website at www.bitcoin-babe.com. You can also check me out on Facebook and Twitter with the URL Bitcoin Babe AU.
Okay, so do we want to head on out into the sunset with a nice video closer here, Will? Are you ready to go?
Yep. Go ahead, Will.
All right.
Alrighty, we
Have
All
a
are
good
right.
night,
Bye, everyone.
everybody.
happy trails, everyone.
I like that. Happy trails.